Ciao, hi, hey, hola, and amigos, namaste, konnichiwa, and all that good stuff. Greetings. I keep thinking these greetings, I don't know why, but anyway, general greetings. It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook. To be honest, I'm behind schedule, but it is what it is, as they say, whatever that means. And I'm live on Facebook and YouTube, and hope you enjoy it. I probably don't need to tell anyone who might be watching in the future, but I'm way later than planned, but anyway, I'm going to try and get to this. I don't know if I'll get to finish part 4, the 4 and final part tonight, but I'll give it my best shot. As I said before, I guess I've diverted away from the original plan of listing, partly because I wasn't really sure and I was indecisive, but of listing Asian businesses in Asia, or I wasn't sure whether to include the founders of those businesses, the CEOs, or whatever of those businesses, or whatever. Or the businesses themselves, like raising the profile of Ratan Tata, who passed away recently, but he was not the founder, but he was the CEO. It ran in his family for more generations, and unfortunately, at the moment, it seems to be struggling. Tata, I don't like the word empire, but Tata business, the Tata conglomerate is struggling at the moment. I hope they can get back to their glory days, but it seems like they're missing their visionary founder who passed away. I think it was last year, could have been earlier this year, I think it was last year. Anyway, these are number 21 to 30. So here goes. So once again, so point number 21, or list, whatever you want to call it, number 21, as the saying goes, 21 again. I suppose I could have included historical figures like Ratan Tata and people like that, but historical people and what Asians have contributed to the world and that kind of thing, historically, and what they've invented and that kind of thing. But it would take me a long time to go through all of them. So much as I'd love to read about all the different Asian businesses, inventors, investors, ideas people, and contributions to the world by people of Asian descent or from Asia itself throughout history, the time does not favour me to do that. So time eludes me, I guess. But so yeah, I'd love to do all that sort of stuff. Maybe in the future I can. I don't know, as much as possible. But yeah, there's so many different videos and different things that I can watch and listen to and whatnot. Information. I don't really read books, but there's loads of different YouTube videos, and I'm bombarded. So I have to try and prioritise my time. As the late Steve Jobs said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things or whatever. But in this case, I put what can the very vast diaspora altogether contribute to Asian nations, like NRIs, non-resident Indians, people of Chinese descent contributing to China, and people of Asian descent contributing to the continent. Maybe Central Asia could host events to bring people from the diaspora, see what they can teach and train people across Asia, what knowledge they can pass on, basically what they can teach, how they can train people across Asia, and that kind of thing. So it'd be interesting to see what they could contribute. Yeah, and also how they can invest in Asia and things like that, I guess. Now we're trying to read my own writing. So moving on to number 22. Once again, I've written right to the edge of the paper. I've done this little thing, and I'm struggling to read my writing. But number 22. Also got my notes a bit mixed up, but Nintendo, which reminds me of 910 though. So, well, but Nintendo, if you break it down, Nin reminds me of 9, 10 reminds me of 10, and Do reminds me of though. So 910 though for some reason. Well, I say again for some reason, but also I was thinking about Asian businesses like I say Nintendo, Sony, Sega, and Panasonic. I believe they're all Japanese. Sorry, there's Korean organisations like Samsung. I think earlier on I said Japanese, or if they could do stuff in Japan, but they could do stuff across Asia. But I believe they are Korean, and I get a lot of those businesses mixed up between Japan and Korea. But yeah, thinking about so many different businesses, I'm just trying to think again, off the top of my head. Hisense, which is Chinese, I believe. I read about it earlier. But yeah, I'd love to find out about so many different businesses across Asia, and again, maybe what they could do by networking together, including with the diaspora, those from the diaspora. And I wonder what Asians can achieve in the future, especially if they work together. Could they achieve even more, and even more things? I know karaoke was also invented by a Japanese guy, I'm pretty sure, if I read that right. Maybe they could even monopolize industries. This is a monopoly month, just to clarify what I mean by that, just in case you didn't know. Although it says go to jail, so it's probably not the best one to use, but I was just thinking it's monopoly. But yeah, hopefully they'll do everything legally and avoid avoid getting in trouble with the law or whatever, avoid financial irregularities or whatever. I think what word I'm using, what word I'm looking for. Sorry, brain not working. I had a late shower to refresh me, but it still didn't seem to work. It was quite a short shower because I was behind schedule. But yeah, thinking about all those different Asian organizations. If you can think of any Asian organizations, associations, YouTubers, TikTokers, achievements by Asians, what Asians have contributed to the world, when I think about Asia, especially about business and that kind of thing, and that can benefit them financially, please post in the comments. Maybe I could have included more of the banks, like I think ICI Bank, I think is or something like that in China, ICICI, I believe is an Indian bank, and more of the banks, and maybe how the banks can help more businesses. But moving on to number 23, one thing I was thinking about is what if there was a joint. I didn't put this on my notes, but I'm a bit off the script here or whatever. I don't tend to read up scripts on my videos, generally speaking, but just to help with this list, it was a lot easier to remember and all that kind of when I do these sorts of lists to raise the profile of entrepreneurs or whatever it might be. In this case, obviously Asian entrepreneurs, Asians in business and whatnot. If there was a joint collective sovereign wealth fund for all of Asia, maybe combining all the sovereign wealth funds or even banks, businesses and whatnot together across Asia and seeing how they're going to invest. The problems with that, I guess, is trusting each other. Who would get the money? How do you split the money? How do you trust each other and whatnot? But if they could work on that, I think the sovereign wealth funds put together, I think would be worth about almost 5 to 6 trillion or something like that, between approximately 4.9 to 6.5 trillion or something like that. Let's say about 5.5 trillion or whatever. So they could be able to invest in loads of things. Another thing I put down here, I guess whether these are Asian businesses or not, I'm not trying to focus mainly on Asia. If I could convince and basically get all possible investors, including Asian investors, sponsors and whatnot, investors or whatever, I would to do so. I would get them to invest into. I meant to do this on the 23rd, but for whatever reason, I suppose I couldn't make decisions or whatever, so I didn't. I don't know if I made any videos on the 23rd or whatnot. It's all in the past, I guess you could say. Maybe on the 23rd of June or July or August or whatever, but I could do that. But if I could, as I say, I'd convince all possible sponsors, investors and whatnot, financial institutions, whoever invests and whatnot, to invest into and of course sponsor Itan Football, Celtic, and things like maybe even LCFC, that's the football club, Birmingham, because it's quite diverse, maybe. And I have a slight soft spot for them, but especially Itan Football and Celtic more so. Maybe Asian nations could invite Itan teams, Celtic, and Leicester and Birmingham and other diverse places, especially which have large Asian diasporas, which hopefully will benefit Asian economies as well. As there also, I'd love to know how banks and other financial institutions and whatnot could invest in Asian entrepreneurs and that kind of thing to help them, especially younger people, and also how to tackle poverty across Asia. So again, I suppose I haven't really included a specific business or organization. I suppose I could have listed some financial institutions, banks especially and whatnot from across Asia, but I didn't, so I guess I could have, should have, in hindsight. But yeah, I'd love to encourage investors, including from Asia, to invest in Itan, Celtic, Asian entrepreneurs and that kind of thing, and young people in Asia and to tackle poverty across Asia and things like that, um, and to an extent LCFC in Birmingham and that kind of thing, Birmingham FC. I mean, more specifically. And again, I've got to read my own writing here. Point number 24. I would love to, again, I haven't listed a specific organisation again, but I would love to, I was going to say salute, honour, acknowledge, appreciate and whatnot, organisations and businesses from across the Asian continent. So, again, I'm going to read my own writing. I put there from across the Asian continent. As I say, Sony, I suppose I did mention them earlier, Sony, Panasonic, Sega, Nintendo, let's say, and so many others who have contributed to Asia and who have contributed to the world, and Asian contributions to the world generally, like for inventions, ideas, and things like that. So yeah, celebrating and saluting and honouring and acknowledging those sorts of things. Moving on, number 25, once again, I guess there's a theme here, but I didn't, I don't think I wrote a particular business, but I'd love to prioritise, Asia's republics. I'd love to support republics more. So yeah, I'd love to support entrepreneurs, in this case, from Asian republics and benefit Asia's republics more, as per usual. Number 26, I covered this on the 26th, technically it's the 27th now, but I covered this on the 26th because it's part of reparations, I guess, for me, because the countries that were, nations that were colonized, well, when it comes to Asian, I say nations because it rhymes with Asian, but yeah, the nations, let's say, or whatever, countries, nations, whichever term you prefer, that were colonized, so it's a form of reparations, normally like for Africa as well. I say, for partly joking, like it would be quite ironic if sorry, don't know why I'm doing my voice there. It would be quite ironic if Reliance Industries bought out Royal Mail, and again, going on my alliterations, I guess if you've seen my other videos, but yeah, I think that would be quite an irony given Britain colonised India. It's quite an irony that so many companies, so many things are owned by Tata in Britain. I think that's quite a fitting justice, a poetic justice, I guess. But yeah, if Reliance Industries or another Asian company, especially Reliance Industries, I think, especially an Indian company, like Reliance Industries, again, going on alliterations, bought the Royal Mail, maybe Tata, but again, I'd prefer to be given my use of alliterations. Reliance Industries, and I jokingly said, even the Royal Mint, and again, being humorous, I put even the royal family. It's a little joke for me. JK lol, as they say. Just kidding. But moving on, number 27, I wonder if there could be an award show across Asia, especially in Central Asian nations, and all possible Asian nations, especially in Central Asia itself, that could have award shows that talk about, as I say, award shows, ceremonies, and things like that talk about. Again, I'm going to try and read my own writing. That talk about like those who contribute to Asian enterprise and that kind of thing across Asia. Again, I'd love for mainly Central Asian nations to host those, but again, as many Asian nations as possible, like Hong Kong, China, India, and places like Japan, perhaps, and places like that. That, as they have award shows, ceremonies, and whatnot. And again, trying to read my writing here. Moving on to number 28. Honouring and acknowledging those who contribute to Asian enterprise and that kind of Asian business in Asia, and empowering Asia in business and that kind of thing. And moving on to number 28. I've got to read my writing here. Also promoting pan-Asian businesses and that kind of thing, generally promoting Asian businesses to work together, learn from each other, trade together, and that kind of thing as much as possible. Again, Pan-Asianism, that kind of thing, which would be very, very challenging because I guess that there's a lot of division across Asia, so bringing them together would be very difficult. Yeah, promoting Pan-Asian enterprise and that kind of thing, entrepreneurship and that kind of thing. Number 29, I'd also love to see, I'm trying to read what I'm writing here, but luckily I can remember a lot of what I put in there. Mixed part Asians, like especially Eurasians, I guess, part European and part Asian, like Anglo-Indians, Christangs, Anglo-Indians, Hapas, Hafus and whatnot, which I talked about recently. I would love to support them to be entrepreneurial, perhaps, although I'd love for us to be philanthropists. But I thought, because my birthday is on the 29th of August, and that happens, I thought I would mention about those who have things in common with me. Although I'd love for us to be philanthropists, but I guess if we got into a position where we could be empowered ourselves, then we could empower others. Also, neurodivergent people, i.e., those with dyslexia, ADHD, and related conditions, autism, and whatnot, around and across Asia, and that kind of thing, in business, and also even maybe people with mental health problems, mental illness, and that kind of thing. So hopefully, people from Asia will see a more positive side to those conditions, to diversity, pro-diversity, and towards those from Eurasian backgrounds, mixed race, part Asians, those from different backgrounds, and whatnot, maybe coming together as much as possible. Again, easier said than done. And those with mental health problems and neurodivergent people, and also. Sorry. I stopped the order here. So, not done there. Sorry. So people from mixed Asian backgrounds, Eurasians and whatnot. I don't think there's many Blasians, but maybe even Blasians, part black and part Asians. Those are mixed race and those with mental health problems and neurodivergent people running businesses and that kind of thing. And again, seeing a positive side to searching what we could contribute to Asian nations, including those from overseas as well as those in Asia itself. And finally, for this one, number 30, I would love for Asian nations and like parents and organisations to learn about and prevent like abuses and that kind of thing. So to learn how to protect children, like learn about child protection and that kind of thing, so that they can prevent that kind of thing from happening as much as possible, and like basically to empower children generally and help more young people to be empowered to have opportunities to start their own businesses and things like that. And I suppose more teaching and training in entrepreneurship, and also helping with teaching and training, whether that's in tech or STEM generally or whatever other areas, to empower especially younger people across Asia. As I say, normally I especially love to help younger people as well as people generally. But anyway, on that note, I am out, and peace and love.